Hello, welcome to StudioPixel. In this video, we are going to discuss about the cell fracture option or add-on in Blender. Now, this is the scene that we are going to create by using the cell fracture, and I will show you how to achieve this particular effect. So, let's start. Okay, so first of all, I have created two simple objects. One is a bullet and one is the wine glass. So both of them actually been used by using the curve and also the screw modifier, which you can see over here. Now what we have to do is, before using the dynamic system, the rigid body calculation or the cell fracture, we have to convert these objects into a mesh. So for that, select the objects, go to object, convert to mesh from curve or meta or text. So this is very important, because otherwise the cell fracture is not going to work, or you cannot apply a rigid body calculation over that. So this is really important, just remember that. Okay, select this one, do the same thing. Great. Now what you can do is, you have to Y, just make sure that you are in the right position. Great. X a little bit downwards. That's fine. Great. So I position my bullet over here, and first of all I need to make an animation of this bullet which will go through this particular object. So hit I to animate in the location, and X, I want my bullet to be hit on a specific frame. I mean, this is very important, because this I just have to move to, let's say, 10, and X, O, I, location, move it to another frame, let's suppose 20. This is just a rough one. We'll just definitely going to achieve that final movement. Just like that. Hit I, location, and that's all. So we have already created this motion of the bullet. Great, fine. So now what we have to do is, we have to first use the cell fracture option, cell fracture add-on, which will be available in Blender. So just select this one, go to object, in the quick effects you will get cell fracture. Now if you don't see this option, that means the cell fracture add-on hasn't been actually been turned on. So what you can do is, go to edit, preferences, in the add-ons just type cell, and you will get that cell fracture option. So you have to just turn it on. You don't have to worry about anything else. And okay, so now select the object, go to object, quick effects, cell fracture. Now there are very basic parameters. It's not so advanced. So I have gone through the documentation of this particular add-on, but it seems that there's nothing extensive out there. But what we can do is, we can, if you want to go into a very detailed, what are the options are actually responsible for doing what, you just have to hover over your mouse, and you can see this. There's a description which will pop up and will tell you that what are the option is actually used for. So now the first option that we can see is the use own vertices. The problem is that for own vertices, what we can do is, it will, if you select this and press Z, and so you can see, so these are the vertices that are going to use for fracture. That will be it can be very I mean, small pieces which might be very difficult to handle out while using the rigid body calculation. So be very careful about using all these things. So So the same thing is if there's child vertices, if there is an child object is there, or own particle system, if there is an own particle systems out there, or the child particles that we are actually, if there is a child particle systems from for the fractures and all. But the most useful thing I found is using the annotation pencil. I mean, this is absolutely so. If you are using earlier version of Blender, like Blender 2.79 or something, so there you'll get a grease pencil option over there. You might get a grease pencil option on the previous versions. So yeah, annotation grease pencil, you can see over there. So what you can do is you can actually specify the density of the area of the density, sorry, the density of the area which with the fracture is going to calculate. So this is something which are going to use. Now select the annotation pencil, and but the problem is that we don't have any annotation applied over here. So first of all, we have to come back and create an annotation pencil area, and we have to draw an area that where we want our bullet to be hit, and that is the reason that we actually animate that bullet earlier before going further. Okay, so now just deselect this one and go to the select the object, go to annotate, and now before if you start drawing over there, you can see that the object the drawing is actually happening somewhere else. The reason is that this is actually taking the 3D cursor, because the option that has been the placement is actually on the 3D cursor. So this is not exactly what we are actually looking for. So what we have to look for is go to the option and go to surface. So what you can do is, when you animate, you can see that this is the area where my shatter need to be happen. So what we can do is, you can make a circular area, make it a little bit bigger. Cool. Oops. Yeah. So what you can do is, great, remove that one. Oops. I got my area where we need to create. Great. In the similar way, I need it over there. Cool. So just redraw it again. So I'm not using my pen tablet over here, that's why it's very bit difficult to. Okay, great. So now my annotation pencil, we have already drawn this one, and then go to object, convert to, sorry, quick effects, cell fracture, select the annotation pencil, which is already in there. Here, rest of the options I would like to keep it as the default one, but I will ask you to do a little bit, increase the noise amount or at least 0.5 and all, and you can check out those options, like how much randomness you want, and what kind of fracture size you majorly actually work on. I'm going for the small one definitely, but to be very honestly, I found it's very difficult when you are using annotation pencil option. They're very specific effect on each of these options. Now recursive shatters that break shards recursively. So you choose it very carefully, how much you want to clamp, how much you want to limit it according to your requirement. But for this scene, I really don't have any we don't have to change these values over here. Now for the mesh data, you want a smooth interior or sharp edges. I'll go for the sharper edges. Now one more thing which is sometimes is very important, that what is the split edge. I mean, if you are using any split edge, then what will be the margin of that split edge? So this is very useful, because the margin of the split edge is going to give you stable physics if there is a little bit more, because there won't be any overlapping meshes which will gonna happen. Now this really sometimes can be very effective. If you see that after using fractures, when you apply the rigid body dynamics, if it just just explode away without any action, then I guess this particular option you need to a little bit increase. So you can just increase it to 0.003. So by default it won't show you after two decimals, so you have to just click on it and you have to check it. So yeah. Okay, now there is another significant amount of change what they have done for the earlier version of cell fracture. That is this option, the collection, was not there earlier. It was actually mentioned as a layer. So now what we can do, we can create a separate collection. So I will just name it fracture, and okay, fine, just hit OK. Cool, my fractures are done, and you can see there is one fracture collection is already been there. So what you can do is you can just drag it out, so that your fracture collection, the number of shards, are completely separated than the earlier one. Okay, so yeah, so this is the original one, and this is the fracture one which has been separated. So what you can do is you can just turn off, and now you can see that how the fracture has actually taken the area where I mentioned that I need some details over there. So this is the area which has been hit by, that is going to hit by the bullet. So this is a kind of a cheating that we are actually creating. So, and also we have drawn this particular area which is also the bullet is actually passing through. So this is the kind of cheating that we can do in through drawing the annotation and all. So right now I have already done that calculation, so we don't need this annotation anymore. So go to view, go to annotation, and you just can cool, just delete it. Fine. Okay, great. So now we can, the pieces has been separated, okay, and they are all and you can see the quite interesting part is that the objects are not absolutely hollow, though my object was actually hollow. So that's the beauty of this particular add-on. This actually create a solid shape of the fractured material. Okay, great. So next what we're gonna do is we will add one plane, so that it won't just fall off. And now if you hit play, nothing will happen, because we haven't actually introduced the rigid body. So now this is a little bit tricky, and you have to follow it very carefully. Some part is literally tricky, specifically while using this cell fracture component, the small pieces, and convert them into the rigid body thing. So first of all, go to my physics properties and say hit rigid body. By selecting this plane, this plane is going to be definitely the passive rigid body. It's not going to be actively participate. Now select this bullet and also hit rigid body, and I don't want my bullet mass to be 1 kg definitely. So what will I do is maybe 0.3, that will do. And as this has to be an animation, I have to keep on the dynamic option on as well as the animated option on. So this is something which is really important. Now the shape of the collision has to be in mesh. I always prefer mesh, though that mesh, converting the mesh will sometimes take a little bit of a little more time to calculate than the convex hull option, but the accuracy will be much more than the convex hull. So that's why I will always I try to keep them as mesh. Great. So both of the things are done. Now the this fracture part which we need to be created. So what we can do is we first have to select any small pieces or any one piece. So I will ask you to select the last piece, because that will going to help you out to create the selection, because having all these individual objects under the same rigid body calculation, that is a little tricky over here. So first of all, select the last one and say rigid body. Now you need to change all this all the calculations over here, and then you have to copy this entire rigid body to the other shard pieces. Now that is little tricky, so that's why again I'll just keep it the mass to 0.3 kg, and I just convert this to mesh. Now this is something really important, that once you have connected this particular rigid body to the other shards or other pieces, and then you come down and change anything over here, that will not be automatically transferred to the other pieces. So you have to connect them again, or you have to transfer the rigid body again. So you have to be very, very careful about it, so okay, so let's see how we can do that. So first of all, select this and go to shift select over here, and then control select the last piece which I have the rigid body. This is really, this selection process has to be very, very specific. Okay, first select all the other shards, and then select the object, that particular piece which have the rigid body at the last, at the end. Okay, now then go to object and go to rigid body and copy from active. Now this is really, really important, and you have to follow this particular step exactly what I'm doing. Click over it. Now you can see this object has been turned and everything has been connected according to my this base, the first object that has been selected. Now we can see what is the outcome of our rigid body calculation. So let's play this. Cool, it's happening, but the problem is my shards are actually getting disconnected or disoriented before this particular bullet is actually being hit. So now what we can do over here is it has to be a little trick. So go to my scene and select the rigid body world. This is really, really important. The speed is way too high for our calculation. Now when we actually going to show the bullet effect, like shattering a particular glass, that has to be a very micro level movement. I mean, otherwise we cannot actually see a bullet movement. So if the bullet movement is, we are showing a bullet actually being hitting through a particular glass, then that the speed of the animation has to be very slow. The calculation has to be very slow. Now this is the trick where you have to be very, very careful about it. So what we can do is we can animate this particular speed over here. So first of all, just make it 0, so we don't make any progress. So there will be no movement whatsoever of the rigid body calculations. So then we have to hit a key over there, and for that I would actually ask you, you can go to the animation and you can have this dope sheet on, so that you can see that where your keyframes are actually going. So in one frame back, which is one frame before the bullet is actually been hit, what we can do is go to my scene, go to rigid body, and also put up another key. So from 0 to 9 it will be, the speed will be 0, and the very next frame just point it to make it 0.2. Cool. So now let's see how it actually reacts. Great. So now these things are actually coming out. So let's see. Great. Cool. Now if you feel that this is a uh, little bit fast than what we have actually thought, then I think you can shift one frame ahead. No, I think our first movement was actually fantastic. Yeah. So what we can do is we can shift it one frame. One frame will be absolutely idle. Great. Great. You can see the thrust, you can see everything is happening. So now we can actually achieve this particular effect. You can add as many as details you want, because there are a lot of different kind of details what we can actually achieve by yeah, by adding layers, by adding the layer of particle system, small particles or a medium sized particle, and we can actually take it to a next level. But this is about the cell fracture, so I'm not going to get into the particle systems and all. So this is how you can actually achieve this particular by using this particular add-on. And you can just play around with the options over there in the cell fracture, and you can achieve annotations. Shapes are I what I got feeling that, and I actually tried it out a little bit. The shape of the annotation is actually sometimes play a very important role into making the fractures. So just play around with the different kind of shapes and see what we can get. So hope you enjoy this. Thank you very much. Please subscribe to YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you.